What is going on, everyone? Griffin here, and we are talking about Marvel Rivals. So, Marvel Rivals is a 6v6 team-based PvP hero shooter that is currently being developed by NetEase Games. So for those of you that are unaware, NetEase Games has developed Knives Out, Life After, Bloodstrike, Harry Potter Magic Awakened, Dead by Daylight Mobile, Lord of the Rings, Rise to War, Naraka, Blade Point, Lost Light, Marvel Super War, Eve Echoes, and Marvel Duel, and there's a ton of other things that they have worked on previously. Currently, the team at NetEase features veterans from the Call of Duty and the Battlefield series that are working on it. So far, there is no word of console versions, which may simply be due to the PC version entering the alpha testing phase in May. The game currently features destructible environments and also a very interesting story here where Dr. Doom has teamed up with his own 2099 counterpart to force universes to collide in an anomaly called the Time Stream Entanglement. That premise nicely ties up tons of heroes and villains to clash. To that end, Marvel Rivals is prepared to have loads of post-launch updates, adding new characters and maps at a regular pace. One really interesting thing that is going on with the game is something that they are calling team up skills. And this is something that we saw in the trailer where you can release these very interesting, devastating attacks depending on what your team comp is and I guess who you team up with whenever you are currently engaging into firefights or gunfights, whatever you want to call it, within Marvel Rivals overall. It says that the dynamic team-up skills combine the powers of two heroes into a devastating attack. Rocket Raccoon can be seen riding on Groot's back while firing, and the Hulk can provide some gamma energy to give Iron Man's repulsor blast some extra oomph. Matches in Marvel Rivals will be third-person, 6v6 battles with destructible environments like Asgard and Tokyo 2099. And this looks very interesting. I do like the idea and the premise of this overall. I think having a 6v6 hero shooter that is a Marvel property is something that is very interesting and honestly right there on the nose. We've seen games like this come up in the past, whether it be Marvel or DC, where they tried to take the properties and develop like a MOBA or some other type of game where you were able to utilize different heroes and villains and the powers that they have access to in order to, be successful to varying degrees within the match. And this is the first time that there has been like a legitimate hero shooter type feel to it. And I think that this is very fun and very interesting to look at. There are a couple of things that I am a little apprehensive about, though. And first and foremost is the fact that there's no plans to release this on consoles. And in the past, we've seen a lot of games come out and, generate a ton of buzz online and get people very excited about the future of this game, just to find out that it is a PC exclusive, or at least a PC and a single console exclusive game. And then it kind of loses its momentum, especially whenever it is in the discussion phases early on, whenever it's first announced and things like that. I think that in order for Marvel Rivals to be taken seriously as a, not even a competitive game, but just as something that would be fun and gain a lot of traction, will be having console and having crossplay, because this game lends itself more so to a crossplay kind of drop in, drop out with your friends, have a good time. It's 6v6, so you're able to party up with more people than, say, Apex or even Warzone or even Overwatch currently. Speaking of Overwatch, this is going to compete directly with Overwatch since it is a hero shooter, and I'm very interested to see how the game modes themselves are going to work out. I know that there's several different game modes that exist in Overwatch, and the majority of the player base likes most of the game modes from Overwatch from what I understand, but I'm interested to see the NetEase / Marvel Rivals take on how a hero shooter is going to perform and how matches are going to play out. With it being a 6 6v6 game, that means that the TTK, at least in theory, means that the TTK for solo champions should be a little bit on the lesser side. So you should have a lot more sustainability. There are no rumors or no confirmations as of yet of the different dynamic in game is going to be, whether it's going to be a class-based dynamic, whether it's going to be something that is going to be more of a flex route, if you're going to be able to upgrade your stats and upgrade your character in game, in match, kind of like you do in MOBAs, or if you're going to have a, possible loadout system or a card system, something akin to Paladins, or if it's just you get what you get, more along the lines of like Overwatch with traditional class roles at that point. I would like to see them introduce at least 3 or 4 specific classes, tank, DPS, support, things like that, to make things very interesting, and then having these different types of team up skills that are not just something that is going to cause a ton of damage, but something that could like increase healing abilities for support characters or increase like crowd control mechanics, things like that would be something that would be really cool and really fascinating to actually sit back and watch and experience overall. The biggest apprehension, other than the fact that there's no crossplay and there's no console confirmed as of yet, is the idea of you are bringing the Marvel universe, even though it's going to like dip its toes into the multiverse just a little bit, and with it dipping its toes into the multiverse, it's going to allow a little bit more freedom for the developers so that they can take characters in different directions. But whenever you're adapting a game that is based off of a very popular property like Marvel, there's a certain fantasy that exists in a lot of different people's minds. Whenever you play something like Overwatch, whenever they release a new character, you kind of live and exist inside the developer's fantasy for that character. What does this character play like? What is this role that this character's trying to fill? What is the feel of this character? Whereas with something like Marvel and DC, you're introducing characters that people are already fans of, and you're trying to recreate what a lot of different people, millions of different people around the world, have as a specific fantasy of playing this specific character. And that could be a huge detriment to the game overall, because different people, of course, could have different fantasies for these characters. But if you introduce a character like Spider-Man into the game, and the overall fandom and community has a very specific idea of what Spider-Man is and how that character should play, and they introduce it as a tank character or a support character other than like a DPS type character that can get in and get out and do massive amounts of damage, then it's not going to feel good, and people are going to gravitate away from their favorite characters, and it could pull them from the immersion of the overall experience. And that to me could be a huge negative effect. Me, myself, I'm a huge fan of a character like Ghost Rider, and I know what Ghost Rider is, I know what Ghost Rider is supposed to be, and I know the fantasy of what Ghost Rider is from all the different variations and different riders that's been associated with Ghost Rider. How are they going to adapt this character in the game if they introduce this character into this game? And is it going to feel good, and is it going to feel right? And if the character doesn't play up to my expectations, is it going to pull me out of the game overall? As a gamer, I can put some of those things aside, and I can gravitate towards other heroes that I do enjoy, and hopefully they play a little bit more true to their Marvel, comic book / MCU counterparts. But that is one thing that I think the developers need to take into consideration when developing these characters and whenever bringing these characters into the roster. Currently, there's a total of 18 characters. I signed up for the alpha, and one thing that I thought was very interesting whenever I signed up for the alpha was a lot of questions about ranked play. And I'm assuming that they are wanting to bring ranked in very early on into a game like this. And I think that that's a great thing, because a lot of people love to grind ranked. But if you're introducing 18 characters and you're going to have 2 teams of 6, and potentially introduce bans on top of that whenever you are doing the drafting phase for a ranked system, you're not leaving a lot of leeway and a lot of wiggle room for people that may or may not be as experienced with the game. I think if you're going to drop the game, and if you're going to drop a ranked mode, you need to have at least enough characters for there to be enough bans, enough characters for each side, and enough wiggle room for individuals whenever they get into that game, so that they feel confident playing whoever's available for them to play at that point. But that is my current thoughts on Marvel Rivals. I think that it looks very fun. I think that it looks very interesting, but this could go south very, very quickly if the developers do not have a great game plan in mind for the game overall. If they avoid the console market, which would be a huge death knell in the coffin, in my opinion, and the fact that you are adapting something that is already a property and something that a lot of people are very familiar with, and if you don't nail the feel and the look and the personality of those characters, then you're going to pull a lot of people out of that experience overall. But be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on this first impressions / announcement trailer for Marvel Rivals? Are you going to pick this up? Are you going to give it a go? And if so, what is your favorite Marvel character? And who would you like to see brought into the game overall? If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you've already liked or subscribed, please consider hitting that join button to become one of the 256 crew members. Lastly, I will be streaming here on Thursdays and also on Sundays, so please be sure to stop by and say hello there. Thanks for watching, guys.